Welcome to this podcast, Mission GJ. At this time, we have our apostle, Erickson Salazar, and leader, Damaris de Jesus. How good we are here flowing in the prophetic for the house. That's right, from the house and for the house. The place where we come to nourish ourselves with the word. How you doing, Damaris?
Todo bien, buenas noches.
Everything's well. Good evening.
Qué bueno. Nosotros
How good. We are happy, rejoicing, and honored to have you here in this segment, Experiencing the Mission, where we're anxious to know what has been your experience,
que ha tenido todo
of the leadership of the ministry in terms of the missions that they've been on. And today was your turn.
el número
You
ganador.
got the winning number.
Y quisiéramos
So we would like to learn
y cuál ha sido
from
la
you
experiencia que
what's been your most impactful experience in the ministry Generation Joshua,
en conjunto con
taking it on together with Pastor Erickson Salazar. Let us know.
Bueno, la verdad
Well,
es que es una honra.
truly, it's an honor
La verdad es que todo
because everything is an enjoyment in this Generation Joshua.
y en las misiones con el apóstol todo,
And in the missions with Apostle,
aparte de ser un
aside from it being a privilege,
día, ¿verdad, apóstol?
it's a challenge, and we
Fluimos
get to face some things that if we flow in the flesh, it will be bad. But if we flow in the spirit,
tú no dices sí,
it's different. And there's always contradictions. The minute you say yes, the war begins. But thank God when you are led by the Spirit and the handling
ordinario que tiene la
of apostle, which is extraordinary, we might drown in a glass of water and might think everything's going to blow up. And he says, no, hold on. And then everything flows. So then he lands the plane, he grounds us in terms of flowing in the prophetic, and that is how it works. How things flow when the Spirit leads you. And everything falls into place and nothing happens. At the end, like Apostle says, the important thing is that the mission was fulfilled. Because if we're going to talk about all the things that come up, then sadly, we're not going to do what we need to do. Yes, that is so.
No, muy tremendo.
That's amazing, that detail
Esa descripción
in description of how
se maneja todo lo que tiene.
everything that has to do with the opposition should be handled.
Muchas veces la gente
Many times,
se le olvida que
people forget that this world is governed by the enemy, meaning evil governs this world because it's under curse of sin, and evil is what abounds. So it is normal that the opposition is part of the package. The only thing is that we want people to take into account that it's not that they are rising up against us, it's that we are rising up against them. See how interesting? So when you find your place in that context, that we are the ones that are uniting as a body, because against the body, Hades cannot rise up against the ministry of Christ. See how interesting? So if two become in communion in His name, or in agreement in His name, then they're going to have the sponsorship of God the Father in their life.
así es.
That's true. That is where everything starts. And if people understood that, the way I'm explaining it, so simple, and under the principles and protocols established, then the attitude of how to confront situations will be different. Because look how Damaris starts saying that everything that we purpose to do for the ministry and for the mission, immediately opposition rises up. And you might say, and why? And you might say, no, it's not opposition against you. It's that you are opposing against them.
Tú eres la oposición.
That is true. You understand? And when we finish the mission, is that you realize that truly it wasn't against you. Of course. It's that I was going against. We are the ones going against, so they move because they're like, what happened? Everything was fine, so why are you coming against me? So you're beginning to execute what every child of God needs to execute. and it is to obey the Spirit in order to complete the Great Commission of salvation.
Totalmente.
Así es.
Entonces, es muy
So it is good to bring context because that brings common sense. You say, oh, so it's not that there's a battle against me. No.
es que yo
It is that I am moving against everything. Myself, the devil, the demons,
de lo
the environmental, the generational, the personal, against everyone,
Contra todas las manos.
against all the marks.
entiende.
You understand?
Y eso, claro, y eso lo
And that is what Damaris is describing.
incluso me gusta
And I love the detail and the way that she describes me. And when she says, and he takes it easy, of course I have to take it easy. Because at the end,
uno tiene que estar muy
we have to be aware of every detail. Because since I'm the one that's going against, I have to also see where things are moving. Because truly,
medirlo bien para cuando le
to be able to hit it where it hurts, right? To hit it where it hurts.
está turbado.
So I cannot be, overwhelmed or out of control because I'm the one that's creating havoc.
Tremendo. Entonces, la actitud es muy importante.
So see how amazing. So the attitude is very important, and that's the attitude every child should have, an attitude of conquering. And that is what I was saying in the last podcast,
Todo piensa
that I was saying,
quién es lo que
before everything, think, who's behind what you're doing? It's not you, it's him.
puesto para lo de él.
So when you know that you are focused on his project, then allow the Spirit to guide you and take you to all truth.
Se manifiesta con
The truth of God manifests itself with those that give him the right.
derecho, no va a haber.
Only those that don't give him the right will not see the truth manifested.
¿Entiendes?
You understand?
Claro. Ahora, siempre hemos dicho
Of course. So
va a haber
now we've always said that you're not going to
si usted,
see the miracles and the wonders if you
en pocas palabras,
are static. In a few words,
la gloria de Dios.
the lazy ones will not see the glory of God.
Exacto.
If we run, we don't see either.
El misterio
No, you're not going to see anything. So the ministry exposes us so that we may
y la misión viene con el
bring forth the mission. And the mission comes with the sponsorship and the backup of gifts and wonders, mysteries,
bueno cuando usted ve
talents.
milagros y
And it is so good when you see the miracles and the mysteries produce,
wow, pero
which is what Damari was saying. Wow, when you see and when you go in, how different everything looks.
y dice,
That's where things make sense. And you say, wow, everything makes sense to me now.
todo tiene
That is true. Everything makes sense.
claro.
And you see that everything is accomplished and you say, wow. And that's where you begin to see truly how everything flows.
Con el tema de la misión.
Of course, that's why there's something interesting about the mission. That the mission is like
O la semilla que tú siembras
the seed that you sow, or rather, the seed that you sow in the mission is what's going to produce the sponsorship of God in your life. The more you dedicate yourself to the things of the kingdom, then the more the things will be liberated in your favor. Hello?
pero de adulto
Hear me. Talk to me. Yeah, it's talking to you, Damaris.
en lo del rey
So the more you focus in the things of the kingdom,
de su propia
and that has to do even in your nourishment and connection
esa
to the execution of that mission that was delegated to you, then things in you will begin to fall into an order.
riqueza estancada.
They will be liberated. The wealth that's stuck will be liberated. That's why there are many people that are stuck financially. They're stuck even in their health.
Y no saben qué es lo que tiene.
People that they keep going to doctors and they don't know what they have because the enemy
Lo tiene arriba.
has them stuck, cornered,
Usted mismo es que
has them in a prison where you yourself have closed the door and thrown the key away.
claro. Por eso es que tenemos
Of course.
que
So that's why we have to understand
asumir
that when we purpose ourselves to take on the calling of the ministry, what the ministry is doing is liberating wealth in me.
Claro.
They're doing me a favor.
incluso
Of course,
hemos dicho que Dios no te pide porque necesita.
even we've said that God doesn't ask of you because He needs. He asks of you because He wants to give you.
Dios te pide
Hello?
porque quiere dar.
He asks you so that He can give you because He wants to give you.
Esa, donde
And the ministry is a fountain, a source of wealth, where those that don't go through that shortcut or that pathway, they will not liberate the wealth of God in Him.
a través del ministerio.
God liberates His wealth through the ministry.
Escucha bien. Por eso que está
Hello? Hear me well. That's why it's so important to understand why the apostolic attitude
vamos a decir es cuando
is so
tú ves que enfrenta
level.
oposición,
You see that he faces all, or he faces all the opposition, no matter the territory. Because especially since I have to be in different nations and territories, it doesn't matter the principality of the nation. I'm going to go execute a mission,
el fin de que de lograr el,
and I'm going
y ya.
to accomplish the objective, and that's it.
Que ha estado
And everyone around me who's been in missions with me,
donde ella está ahora
especially in New York, which is where she resides right now,
en otras misiones en Boston,
you know, even though she's been in other states, Boston and Florida,
los yo
but she sees that the Joshuas, they are decisive, they are aggressive, they don't stop, they're consistent, and they are diligent.
Definitivamente.
¿me entiendes?
Especialmente.
Entonces,
You understand?
ADN de que
So that is the DNA of Christ.
su trono,
Christ left his throne
un ser humano común y
to come and become a commoner.
fue diligente en lo que le tocaba.
And he was diligent in what corresponded to him in every season and time.
Bueno, mi temporada
Because we have to understand, what is your season? Well, my season right now is a season to learn. Then learn.
mucho.
My season is to nourish myself and connect because I'm being formed. Then let yourself be formed. Nourish yourself. Connect.
Y hágalo
That is your season.
más mucho y
And do it well. And eat well. And connect. Because there will be a day where all this connection will be necessary for you. Because you will begin to make mistakes in the mission and you will say, wow, so many times I took this study and look, I wasn't able to do this because I missed that instruction. Since you didn't exercise yourself, you even feel embarrassed. Because, wow, they taught me this and I failed. But it's okay. Shake it off and keep on moving forward. Don't worry.
claro, y no
And it's not that there are more chances. It's that we're not here to accuse you. Rise up because the enemy is the one that wants to accuse you, telling you, wow, you see that you're good for nothing. If you would have connected, no. With the battle, you have to continue forward, advancing, taking on the calling, taking on the mission.
óyelo bien,
Listen to me.
nosotros no
We cannot stop. But we have to understand that the ministry is not sending somebody that it didn't prepare. It's sending someone that was given tools. That is so, Apostle. Sometimes that dislocation comes so that we don't go and ask for the apostolic guidelines because we have them already. That instruction has always been there, but sometimes the dislocation comes so that you give up and so that you don't fulfill the mission. Of course. But when you allow it to flow, that's when you see that everything flows and everything falls back where it needs to, and things get back the way they need to be. Yes, and that's why we have to be firm and prepare ourselves, because people in their rejection think, wait, and why so much preparation? Well, listen,
la conexión
your connection has an objective at the end of it all.
la
Your connection is not by chance.
usted se está
You are strengthening yourself. The same way that people nourish themselves, they have to eat lunch, they have to eat dinner. All those nutrients that people
su cuerpo
have to consume, the word is like that for us. It edifies us. It forms us. And that's so powerful that when missions come, then you are already prepared. That's why we have to be clear that there will be a moment of demand. And when the demand comes, we cannot ourselves come to start to get prepared. No, you have to be prepared. We have to be prepared. It is time to be aggressive. It's time for us to rise up, understanding that the time has arrived for the children to be exposed. The word says, creation itself is crying out for the children. So the children have to understand that they're being prepared with a calling. That the word says there's a great commission of salvation to send the children to go for others. So the same way that some people went for you, you have to go for others. Give by grace, of course. But many want to feel like, oh, but can I do it? Let's be clear. You cannot do it. We're clear about that. You cannot. But there is a ministry that is preparing you that, yes, it can. You're not being told to face, demons and everything. No, you don't have to do anything. You just have to unite and obey. That's all you have to do. Obey. That's right. You understand? Damaris, when she was afraid and saying, why? No. But with the apostle, what do I have to do? And we have to go with him. And I remember that a friend of hers would tell her, no, it's okay, come, it's going to be fine. But what's going to happen with him? Come, no, take it easy. She kept being afraid. And when she would go and she would see how the handling of a body and realizing she wasn't alone, that it was a team, she was like, wow, everyone has a part to do. Where, like the word says, my burden is easy and my yoke is light. It's not abusive. You're not going to go be in a setup where you're going to be taken advantage of. No. Everybody equally is being distributed the work, where nobody has an area that's easier than others. No, on the contrary, everybody has areas that are delicate. No matter if you're at the door and you're told, don't move from here, you might say, oh, how easy. Easy. In the kingdom, nothing is easy. In the kingdom, nothing is easy. You are at the door for a reason. When you start paying attention, then the avalanche begins, and you have to just execute. And you're like, this is not easy. No, nothing is easy here. But also, you're not alone here. I've always said that the ministry fights like a gang. It's like a gang. You understand? And how powerful, because that's what you have to take into account. That's why when you understand the complexity, and that's why we expose lives. And this type of intervention in experiencing the mission, that's what we come to do, to show, to teach how the ministry operates, how each leader is exposed. But you don't know what type of mission you're going to be entrusted with, because they change. The missions change. I don't know if many notice. What were you saying, Damaris? No, I was saying that you don't know what you're going to go do. You just have to be willing. Yes, that's right. Things change. That's why we teach everyone how to unfold for others. There's no status here. There's no status. There's no color. There's no social class. That doesn't exist here. Because all of us equally have to go through missions where you yourself say, wow, I enjoyed, in this mission that I'm in right now, somebody that had to go find some parts for a vehicle. And the person says, wow, let me add to my resume, I had to go find a part for a vehicle for a ministry vehicle. I had to put that in my resume that I've been like a mechanic in the mission. Because, they were looking for parts. Because we're always taking care of logistics for the ministry, because the demand is a lot and it's constant. And every mission brings so much teaching. of course, but those teachings, you're not going to have them if you don't get involved in the mission, especially that. And you're never going to know who you are if you're not exposed. Tell me that. You understand? Tell me that I was always running. Always running. Always running. And listen to me, and being in New York, see how now she's involved, and nobody would take her out of her shell, of her comfort zone, and to bring her out and expose her. And at the end, everyone begins to understand the dynamic of the ministry. They begin to get integrated. And there's something powerful that she said that, we didn't touch on it, but it's how you rejoice in the mission itself. Because I was told in my face that it's a sacrifice, but it's actually a pleasure. So, when I come back from the mission, I'm boosted. Of course, you come back renewed. You know why? Because when you connect with your warrior, with the rest of the body, aside from learning and sharing, you are renewed. Just sharing the wonders and seeing everybody, share their experience. In the same way we're here, in this experience in the mission, the same way they have their moment. And there's nothing that brings more joy than talking about the wonders of God. See how amazing. That is just like that. When they get home and they come from different nations and places, they are rejoicing because they say, wow, what were you doing? No, we were working for the kingdom, but not only that, but rejoicing in seeing miracles and wonders. Do you know how good it is to see the atmosphere of miracles and wonders? To see all these aliens that are Joshua's, that you could tell that they're different than everybody else. It's powerful. It's a joy to see, when you meet up with your species, and you miss that every so often, of course, because we're talking about people that are prepared. And all these things were prophesied before. This was talked about. Many years ago, I was saying, people, let's enjoy this time that we're together, because there will be times where we'll find ourselves in other nations, in missions, and there will be moments where we'll meet at the airports. I used to tell you that, and that is where we're at now. That is where we're at in this ministry. Many times, I've met up with people at the airports. I'm at gate so-and-so, let's meet up, let's eat something together, and we've met. Somebody going to one mission and the other going to another. And that's what happens when we're on the same page. Of course, and nowadays, the missions of the ministry, we bring people from different countries and different places, and we connect them to that mission. See how missions are handled here. Even in the United States, we've called on 5 different states to go to a mission in a place or to a country. That is how the missions are handled in Generation Joshua. Well, we don't have barriers or limit. Wherever we have to go, we go. And that is what makes it so interesting. Of course, because that's why we say that our ministry is remote, is digital, is face-to-face. It's all the formats. We take them on. And we go wherever we have to go. And if we have to call, somebody can't come and meet us here. People like militia, they all come down because we're a body. We're a body. You know what happens with that? Is that we are a community, and in a community, there's no thought of barrier to socialize or communicate with the brothers and sisters. That is so. We are a community without borders, without barriers, without frontiers. It is true. Without a passport, because we have only one passport, which is the kingdom. You understand? Imagine, recently there was a mission where there were about 20 Joshuas from different parts and countries, and everyone that was there were many that have never seen each other in person, and the encounter was like we've always been together, lifetime friends.
Es como que si tú conocieras la
From mission one, it's like you know everyone.
Decía una en esta misión que nos juntamos
And somebody was saying in this mission where we all met up, wow, we would see each other, and by looking at each other, we knew what we were talking about. When you say that you can talk to someone just by looking at them, a person that you are meeting for the first time, and you know how to communicate like that, you say, but why is that? But that has only one name. What happens is that they are a body.
parado igual a todos.
And they've been prepared the same. They eat from the same plate. They have the same spirit. They drink the same blood and body of Christ. It is one spirit. And I don't know if you remember, Luis, that we've always said clearly that the ministry, what it's pursuing is to awaken the spirit of the people, because when your spirit awakens, then we're all going to know the same. That is true. That's why here we have people from different nations and different places, different cultures, and we think the same way. Why? Because we are connected to one same spirit. Totally. That is the powerful thing of all this. That is the powerful thing when each person has been able to experience how extraordinary to see that what is taught here, then when you're exposed and you say, wow, truly, all these words have not fallen to empty land. They're falling in hearts that have been prepared for the seed to germinate in their lives. So when you see the fruit in so many lives, that you say, wow. That's why I was saying that, Maris, when you come back home, they are filled, they're robust, they're rejoicing, restored, renewed. And then you're like, when's the next one? People that are tired, exhausted, they're saying, when's the next one? So imagine people like Damaris that and others that they've gone to other nations to go on vacation, and now they prefer to go on missions more than going on vacation. I personally enjoy them the most when I spend my vacation in the mission. When we meet up with the members of the body that were in the same tune, in the same ideology, it's like you enjoy it. You enjoy that. Yes. And there's something that's powerful also, which the word says where 2 or 3 are united, he will be there. But how powerful when we are all serving one same Lord. Imagine the joy that our spirit has, the joy that we feel, because our joy comes from him, because he's our strength. That's why when we leave that type of mission, we are strengthened. See what the paradox. You should be exhausted. You should be burdened. You should be, feeling aggravated, but no. But even though our bodies are tired, the joy is so strong that it compensates. The joy compensates your tiredness. And that joy, covers your body, but also your soul, that it's renewed, as if you have been in vacation. How wonderful when we understand that the things of God, that's what's going to move all that spiritual atmosphere. That's what we're going to experience, that anointing, that there's no way to explain it. Because those that are in the mission, remember, they're flowing in the Spirit, and they're being backed up by the Spirit. Therefore, those mysteries are active. And you know that it's not the same when you're passive, independent to the kingdom, than when you're active, connected to the things of the kingdom. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. There's a fullness of joy. There's an atmosphere, which is what we should always strive for. All those that begin to activate their lives through a connection, through a direction, they're going to live in the atmosphere of the Spirit. And that's what we all want to strive for. That we could be in an atmosphere so that we may flow constantly. Since the Spirit clearly teaches us that we have to connect to the things of the kingdom because that is what we've been formed for. That is what we've been called for. And that is what we are sent for. To be guided by a Spirit. And you know why? Because the Life Manual clearly says that the work is plentiful, but few are the workers.
Gracias por sintonizar nuestro podcast Misión GJ. Nos vemos en un próximo episodio.